So today I have the delight to be introducing you to Mary-Beth Hosking. Mary-Beth Hosking is a pragmatic and seasoned technology leader with extensive experience in organisational transformations. As a developer of a practical guide to leadership during times of change, Mary-Beth aspires to help leaders find a successful pathway while supporting their teams. Clearly understanding the impact of poorly led transitions has put Mary-Beth on a mission to develop sustainable change leadership by building resilience through transformation. Mary-Beth's got over 17 years experience through leading multiple restructures, and she wants to help others by providing key insights and strategies to drive continued performance. So welcome to the program, Mary-Beth.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you so much for having me. I am very excited to be here with you today.
Fantastic. I'm excited to be talking with you because I love all things change management and I love all things people-centered. And I know that is totally your heart and your whole background and expertise. So I'm looking forward to learning from you as we share with our listeners today. What does your daily professional life look like?
Well, I work in an organisation that is very close to my heart. I work as the head of change delivery. So that is in an IT function, and IT is where a lot of change stems for organisations. And I deliver in projects, or my team delivers in projects to support our business. Most of you that work in an organisation will know that IT does push a lot of changes through. So really important that we get that right at the start. But a lot of individuals are working in organisations, certainly now as well, where there's a lot of change from an organisational structural perspective. So I do like to focus on how to take people through those sorts of transitions and transformations as well. But certainly currently it is all about IT for me, and how we best support our business and our business partners in ensuring safety, as well as ensuring that we have the right solutions to fit the needs.
And I've certainly found that myself, actually, just being in business, how important IT and the IT infrastructure is. You know, it's just increasingly a core requirement in any business that I do. So I can see where you add so much value. A lot of people get distracted by, you know, the high level strategy and what they want to achieve. And obviously IT is at the center of that, as well as the people. So what led you into IT? Was it in a change management capacity at the beginning, or did you just have an interest in IT?
No, actually, I started in transport and logistics.
Okay.
So, and if you read with the book that I've just published, there are a lot of case studies around transport and logistics and change. But I originally started in transport logistics and thought, I love learning, I love working in teams, and I wanted to do more in training. So I started to do training in that space. So going from managing a fleet of drivers in my youth, which is a huge leap, I know, but manage a fleet of drivers, and I learnt so much about being an active listener and being a really strong communicator, because there was such a difference between me and the drivers that I worked with, that it really set the foundation in place. And I realized I enjoy training and taking people on a journey. And then that led through to change management. My exposure to IT came from working back in the day with EFTPOS terminals, and I hate to say it, but they'd only just came onto the market when I was working in that space. So it was a huge learning curve, and I realized, gee, I really do like IT. I like this side of things. And so that helped me to transition into the IT space. But at the core of it, it was really around helping people adopt the changes that we had. So EFTPOS machines, everyone now, we just swipe and off we go. But back in the early 90s, the devices were 20 kilos and they sat on a big, huge desk. And
brick.
Absolutely. And so just watching how IT changed and shifted, and then I sort of moved into more of an IT space from there. But again, at the heart of it, there was this love of learning. I'm just really interested in things, and IT is changing so rapidly that you just have to stay on top of it. So it enables me to continue to learn, keep my mind elastic, work with a team of amazing people who also love learning and want to know new things, and that I can help with change.
I love your curious nature. It's just oozing out of your being. And that's just so important, isn't it? That's right. That curiosity to know, well, what's next, what's coming next, be ahead of the game, and being able to be able to foresee that while also listening to your customers and appreciating what their current issues are. I think that's an incredible skill set to have, to be able to sort of be future planning, making sure that you're ahead of the game, and also be aware of the complex issues that all these different industries have, adapting to their challenges, and I'm imagining you've seen so many diverse challenges across industries.
I have, and in fact, working in transport and logistics, I've worked with customers in the mining sector and what their challenges may be, in the finance sector, what their challenges may be, obviously warehousing and distribution, what their challenges may be, and the broad gambit of all of that. But intrinsically, it just really does come back down to having a really cohesive team, understanding change, understanding how to get buy-in, and also that business advocacy in IT and IT advocacy in the business. So ensuring that you're building very strong relationships with all of your key stakeholders. Certainly whether it's a line of business, a business unit, depending on the organizations that you work with, having people within your team that are very comfortable speaking with their business partners and really understanding, what is your pain point? What is it that we can do to help support you? Give us a longer runway so that we can give you the right solution, and being a little bit more strategic than tactical. I understand that there is a tactical nature to a lot of things that happen, but if you've got that overarching strategic view, it really makes it a lot easier to build the big why and to take teams on the change journey, because they actually understand why something's happening. They understand the what's in it for me, what's in it for the business. All of those things in that change space really do make it a compelling story that will help build your culture. And if you can build a culture of change, build a culture of a psychologically safe workspace, it really makes change so much easier for an organization to take on board. And so those are the things that I talk about those in the book, because it's important to actually empower your teams to have those conversations.
So tell me about your book. What is it called? When is it coming out? How do people find it? Let's talk about that.
Oh, perfect. All right. So it's called In One Piece, a step-by-step guide to surviving change. So I guess I'll roll back a little bit and explain why I wrote it. I'd been working in a transport company, major transport company, and I'd gone through 4 major transformations, not IT-led, but organizational-led. So very confronting for the teams with which I was working in. And there is an expectation as a leader that, you'll keep your team motivated during a change, even though the earth underneath them is shifting and moving so rapidly, that you yourself as a leader will understand the big why, and perhaps you do or you don't, and that it's traumatic on your team, and it's also traumatic on you as a leader. So when that change is announced, whether you are a part of the announcement or you are part of the rest of the cohort receiving that announcement, what do you do as a leader? And that was the premise of the book. I remember the very first change I went through. I'd been working in a business unit. It was 6 years of absolute joy. And I'd let my network go. My LinkedIn profile was an absolute mess. My resume, I don't even think I looked at it for the 6 years. I was just absolutely loving my work. I would leap out of bed on a Monday morning. Friday, I'd get to the end of the week and think, it's going to be 2 days till I can get back here. It was crazy exciting. It was R&D, and we were cowboys, and it was bleeding edge, and it was all of that. And then the business decided, we don't want this department anymore.
Oh, shattering.
And so and the announcement came and I was like, well, hang on a minute, wait, what? And I was much younger. I hate to say much younger. I understood change. I'd done change management before, but this had not happened to me. And I was loving what I'd been doing and I could not understand the big why. I still needed to continue with my team. They needed to continue to deliver. And so it was traumatic. And I think to this day, there's a little bit of PTSD. But what I did do was I started to write about my experience. And I thought, I'm going to do a blog. And I got to tell you, Annie, thank God I did not put that blog up anywhere. Because I kind of wrote it and it was really cathartic, and then I put it to the side, and then I found something new and I moved into a new role, and all of that sort of took place, and had a new team, and I was bringing cohesion to that team. And then about a year ago, I started working with my coach, Amanda Blissing, and I thought, hang on, I think I've got something to say here. So I went back to the old blog that I'd written that I hadn't published anywhere, and whew, it was angsty and it was awful, but I thought there are some nuggets in here.
Yeah.
And I've got now another 15 years plus experience going through these multiple times, and I've got a lot of learnings. And I thought I can put these into something that other leaders may find useful. And so what the book is, there are not new concepts in this book. These are just concepts that I have used through many, many changes to help my teams work through the transformation and come out the other side reasonably unscathed. And that, as a leader, is my primary focus during a transformation. And certainly right now, the entire world is going through this extraordinary transformation. And I look at it and I think, yes, I think the things in the book are still pertinent. I started the book last year and I had decided to finish it by June. That was my drop dead date. And what I have been seeing, and much to my pleasure, is that a lot of the things that I've had in the book really are pertinent. And yes, these are the things you can do as a step by step. So that's why I wrote the book. I published it 3 weeks ago. We went on sale. I had my first virtual book launch.
Congratulations. Super exciting.
Thank you. And that was an external launch. I do have an internal launch within my organization. They've been incredibly supportive of me writing this. And so next week is that launch. And a part of that launch will be a special sale that I have negotiated with Amazon for the ebook. So that will go on sale next Thursday and Friday, the 27th and 28th of August, for 48 hours only, for a special price of the ebook of $2.99. So what I'm hoping for, I know, but I felt there was that piece. We talked about it earlier, that little bit about paying it forward.
Yes.
And I thought, if you've got a Kindle and you want to get a copy, then it's $2.99. It's less than a cup of coffee, or less than your favorite cocktail, or whatever might be your pleasure. And then at least anyone that's out there, whether you're a leader or not, there are things in here that will help. There are pieces about well-being, pieces about gratitude practice, something that I think we all need to be thinking about right now. It is more so, yes, it is tough. If you're living in Melbourne or Victoria at the moment, very, very challenging. But there's so much that we can be grateful for, and we need to sort of just cling on to those things, because I think that they're really, really important, certainly in times of major distress.
Yeah. I love your attitude about that, because I think, yeah, we need to be so grateful for what we do have and looking for, so thankful, and then also looking at opportunities and what we can do. And if we can't do anything, or we're restricted, we can certainly help others and allow them to be benefited in this time when we are better off. I think, by the way, I think that's an incredible offer for that book, and I really do hope our listeners take you up on that. Pretty sure I will.
I hope so.
Because I think that's just so wonderful, so much learnings that you have had. I want to sort of backtrack to a comment you had before when you were so shattered, and I know that feeling when you've just put your heart and soul into a project or being part of that team, and particularly when you're younger and you think, it's just I'm just living the dream, I've got the best job, and then the world sort of gets shattered and you get treated badly, or the project gets canned, or COVID hits, or whatever that is. Now, you're all about building teams and change managing while keeping the people at the center. How do you work with people once they've been shattered a few times? How do you keep people energized and still excited rather than becoming cynical?
It's a great question, and I've had a number of people in my network who are still with my previous organization who have asked exactly the same thing. What do you do with protracted change? Which is what that is. The individuals that you work with, they cannot see a light at the end of the tunnel. They have become cynical. They don't believe what you're saying as a leader. They don't believe the leadership of the organization, and it makes it really hard as a leader of that team. But I say to them, back to basics. Go back to the very, very basics. Your communication plan, the comms that you say to people. You need to be as transparent as you can be, as honest as you can be. And if you don't believe in the change yourself, I think you have a right to say, I agree with you. I don't agree with this. But at the end of the day, we have a customer to service. We have a role to do. It is about giving your people not busy work, because that's the worst thing you can do as a leader, but give them work that actually amounts to something, that gives them a view of the why we're actually doing this. You may not be able to give them the big why of the organization, but you can certainly bring it back down to that customer-centric piece. People inherently just want to do a good job. They want to come in every day and do a good job. But when they're feeling disempowered, when they're feeling as if they don't know when, my mother used to say, when the other shoe's going to drop, when they don't know what's going to happen next, you've got to be as honest as you possibly can be. If you don't know the answer to that, you can also say that. The worst thing you can do is lie. It's better to say, I don't have an answer yet, because you don't have the answer yet, but you will get an answer. And as a leader, keep pushing, keep asking. If the organization has brought in change consultants, see if you can get in front of the change consultants. See if there is work that they are doing that you could get your team involved in. Depends on what it is that your team does. But get them potentially involved in what that may look like. What it will do is it will build their profile or their brand in front of the change consultants, so that if there is going to be restructure, etc., they will be the people that are seen as helpful, people that are seen to be involved in the change and being on board with the change, and that will bring a different light to them and those people in your team itself. If you cannot do that, always bring it back to the basics. It is about the customer. What it is that we're doing for our customer. Most of us are in service-related industry, whether that is transport, whether that is in sales, whether that is in marketing. You will always have a customer. So don't focus on busy work. Give people things that really will add value, that they can see the value in what it is that they're doing, and being as transparent as you can. Protracted change is probably the hardest as a leader. And in my book, I also do talk about, you may come to the end of your own journey as a leader in an organization, and you may sit back and go, should I stay? Should I go? Is this still the right place for me? Does this still resonate for me? You will lose people during a change. It is inevitable. Usually people will use the change as an opportunity to look at what is out there. But if they know that you have been transparent with them, you have been with them throughout that journey, and they know that you will support them whichever way they may go, you will come out of that with a better relationship with your team members, and you will build trust. And if you have trust with your team, then no matter how bad that change is, there will still be that underlying element that you can always rely upon.
Yeah. Oh, I love the way you've articulated your leadership style and the importance of, just allowing your team, whatever role they have, to know that they're valued, they're needed, they're part of that overall strategy, whatever component that is, and therefore, valued. I think that makes a lot of difference. You mentioned before too, you're very big on listening. Why did that become a focus to you? What did you feel like you didn't listen clearly enough at the beginning, and why has that become so important to you now?
I think when I was younger, there was a bit of hubris. And certainly working with a fleet of drivers, gentlemen, generally male drivers, unfortunately back in the day, not a great deal of diversity in that space. But I knew nothing about transport and logistics. I was young, straight out of uni, no idea, absolutely no idea. And I had to listen to what it was that I was being told. And I did get told a lot of things.
I'm sure very directly.
Yes, built resilience. The one thing that people will say about me, you're resilient. Yes, many years in transport has built that. Maybe it's brashness, not quite sure, or determination, boldness, not. But yes, resilient certainly. But if I didn't listen, then people would just stop talking. And what I have found, certainly as I go into new organizations, I don't say a lot in that first 90 days. What I actually learned, and that's a really great book, The First 90 Days, absolutely brilliant book. But what I learned was, in that first 90 days, you are sizing up your team, you are sizing up your organization, and they are sizing you up. And it is in that first 90 days, it's the most important time in however long you're in an organization. And when you change to a new team, it's the same thing, that first 90 days. And what I've learned is, if I speak quietly and if I just listen, people actually will open up. They will actually tell me the good, the bad, the ugly of what's going on in the team. And it is in that point that you build your greatest trust currency. At that point, if you go into an organization as a leader and you believe you know better, and you change things in that first 90 days, in that first 30 days, I've seen that, you will lose trust. People will not speak with you. They will feel disempowered, and it will take you a long time to claw back, if at all. So listening is the most powerful tool in your leadership arsenal. And if you get really good at that and become an exceptional listener and an exceptional communicator, you will run rings around any other leaders that you may work with.
Fascinating. What sort of qualities do you admire from other women in leadership?
I have had the opportunity to work with many leaders, and I like to say a number of female leaders. In transport and logistics, you don't get a lot of female leaders, even now, which is, for me, the lack of diversity in that space that really does need attention. But I have had the opportunity to work with some amazing female leaders, and for the most part, I've moved on and they're still friends, and I will still call them and I'll say, hey, what would you do in this instance? And I will bounce stuff around with them, and quite a few of the women that I've worked with now have retired, and I'll still ring them because there's such a wealth of knowledge
Mm.
that I can still draw out and gain from. And the best leaders for me have been the ones that have listened to me, have listened to what my career aspirations are, have challenged me to step up, have empowered me. I had one leader many years ago. She said to me, the best thing you can do as a leader is to let people fail. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, it's when you have a child, you don't hold their hands and help them walk everywhere. She said, you embrace when they take their first step and you celebrate that win with them, but they fall and then they stand back up. And she said, you have to do the same with your team. You have to allow them the opportunity to learn. You learn more from the mistakes that you've made than from the wins that you've had. And you appreciate the wins that you've had because you've made the mistakes previously.
Yes.
And so she taught me that lesson. And I was 20, in my early 20s, and I just thought, that can't be right.
It's totally brilliant.
And I've used it every day since. And another leader said to me, he said, Mary-Beth, he said, prop your team up. He said, let them swing from the trees. He said, they will do one of two things. He said, they will either swing like Tarzan, or they will get stuck and then they'll get a noose around their necks. And he said, and your job is to step up, prop them up, loosen the noose, and then set them on their way so they can swing through the trees again. And I loved that analogy. I just thought, that is brilliant. And I say that to my team now and to my leaders in my team now. I don't micromanage. I'm busy and I don't want to do that. Everyone's a professional. You're professionals. You know what you need to do. I'm there if you need my support. But if you trip up and you stumble, know that I've got your back and I will help you and I will prop you up and I will set you on your way. I trip, I stumble myself, and my leader does the same for me. He helps prop me up when I need that, and he sets me on my way. If I cannot see a priority, if I cannot see a path, he'll help me find that. He won't pick me up, put me on that, but he'll help me see it. And as leaders, when I talk about active listening, it's about people know the answers. They just sometimes may get lost. So as a leader, I'm there to guide. I'm there to show them the way, the end point, what we're focusing on, but I'm not there to do it for them. And if you do it for them, you disempower them. And then you get a team that is low functioning, and that's not what we want, and that's not what we need. And certainly now we need people to feel empowered doing work that makes a difference, because that is where the engagement will come.
Yeah. And constantly growing. And absolutely. I think a lot of people think it's easier just to do it for them or to show them the way. But that's right. Oh, women at this stage of our careers, we're knowing that's right. It's all those times that we have fallen down. And it's almost like if we're not trying new things and stumbling and falling and getting challenged and getting frustrated and then looking for new opportunities, then we would be limiting ourselves in all aspects of our role. And that's what, if we're not allowing that for those people that we lead, that is actually a tragedy. We're wanting to bring out the best. I think a key element that I was hearing you speak about there is the environment. You're creating an environment which is supportive, nurturing, and giving them permission to extend themselves and to try new things, obviously within structures and strategy and so forth of a business. But there was always many ways that you want to have that innovative mindset, that curiosity that you started this program with, which has come along. That's like, what is next? What could we doing? What is happening in the future? And I think you are an excellent example of a woman in leadership who is doing that with teams. And congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I'm encouraged today.
Any leader can do this. You just have to park your ego to the side. I think that's really what it is. We all have an id and an ego, but sometimes I don't have all the answers. I think I learnt humility when I had my son. you don't have all the answers. And as a parent, you're winging it. As a leader, there's so many books out there that you could be reading to become an exceptional leader, but really what it comes down to is you have to take those learnings and you have to use them. If you can read all the books in the world, but if you don't learn anything from them, then there is no point. Your team needs you to step up. They need you to be listening to them. They need you to support what they do in their careers. That as leaders, that's what we're there for. At the end of all of this, if I can come away from this with, at the end of my career, come away with a team of people that are my friends out of this, and I do connect with people that I used to lead who have just gone on to bigger and better and greater things. And I think the most heartwarming thing is I couldn't have done this if you hadn't have done that. And it's that flow-on effect. I think paying it forward, I absolutely believe that. I put a post up onto LinkedIn a week or two ago, and I stole it with pride. I do say I didn't come up with the elf, but that was just to sort of reach out to people in my network and say, if you're struggling and you need some support, reach out to me. I do mentoring and coaching with people, and if you want help with your resume, if you want help with your branding on LinkedIn, if you want me just to share some stuff with my network, if I hear of anything, please let me know. And I think if all of us do that, then we create an amazing culture in this country and globally to support those that may have been affected by COVID more than we would know. And I think that just that paying it forward also just makes this all worthwhile. Working somewhere where we're making a difference and helping others, I think that's what this is all about.
Yeah, exactly. And to appreciate that in business, we're in a global environment. So even what we're in Australia speaking here, but people globally are having, incredible hardship, during this time. And so it's worth keeping that perspective. I'm the same. I got a comment the other day from a lady in Africa who messaged me and she said, how are you coping in COVID? And I sort of gave my reply. And I emailed back and said, what is your biggest challenge at the moment? And she said, safety and hunger. I'm just like, wow, what do you even do with that? This is the level of compassion and that we need to give to other people and help them along their way. And and it's not just giving away free stuff. It's actually just being a good human being and being able to assist. And I agree, things do come back to you, building those networks. We've both got global networks. People are here to support each other and to grow each other, and there will always be value. It's valuable to the world, the planet, but it's always valuable to the relationships, and it's great having them long term because it helps you become better at what you do, and it helps them grow their businesses as well. And well, it's been a joy chatting to you today. I have learnt a lot, and I've been really inspired by your leadership style and how important it is to keep people at the center, to grow people under your leadership, to grow strong teams when that's and use IT, which is where we've touched, use the infrastructure to be able to make amazing things happen in an organisation. And I thank you for sharing that with us today.
It's been my pleasure, Annie. Thank you so much, and good luck with your book.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting. It's all going very well. How can people find you, Mary-Beth?
I can be found at www.quantumtransformation.com.au. That's my website. So if you're interested in mentoring and coaching, there's information there. There's a link there as well if you're interested in the book. The book is being sold more at all online outlets, of course. So if you are interested in the soft copy, as I said, we've got the special coming up next week on Amazon with the Kindle book. It's also for sale on iTunes if you are an Apple user, and through BookPod, Amazon, you can get the paperback copy as well. So it's for sale globally. So I do hope that people, if you buy it, please let me know what your thoughts are, because I am really keen to see if people have found it interesting and there's been some useful tips in there. I think you'll find useful tips in there.
I think you sound like a very practical woman, and I'm very, very sure that you'll have many, many useful tips. So particularly those younger women who listen to this podcast, you're at that earlier stage in your journey, or you're just having a stage of transition now. It may be because of COVID, might be because you're going back in, trying to get back into the workforce. We're all at different stages of our journey. And so this is a real bargain. A couple of dollars, tap into learning these incredible truths that Mary-Beth has gained over, a couple of decades in her space. So I think it's going to be so valuable. And I thank you for that gift to people. And I wish you all the best in your success in the book and also in the work that you do in companies globally.
Thank you, Annie. Have a fabulous day.
Thank you. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes and, of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then, happy podcasting.